let's go ahead and get started with the physical aspect. Okay, what are we feeding ourselves? I mentioned before that I would argue that diabetes is at the root of just about everything. Food is at the root of just about everything related to diabetes, right? From a mineral imbalance standpoint, managing inflammation and making sure the body has the resources it needs to do what it needs to do. So it involves changing your food. And I mentioned in the episode 37, almost everyone with a new diagnosis is being told, no, you don't need to change your diet. Don't change your food. It's got nothing to do with diabetes, at least type 1. So don't worry about it. Not the case. You can absolutely help your cause so much by modifying the way that you eat. So healing begins with food. I have stuck to whole foods and increasing the number of healthful spices. So whole foods is a very, generic term. It can mean a lot of different things. It's going to be a little bit different for every person, but fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, seeds, and then free range, pasture raised, as clean a quality, as clean a source of animal proteins as possible. This includes eggs, chicken, beef. For those specific fruits and specific vegetables, variety is going to be your best friend, and I talk about it a little bit in just a few slides. But don't think that like, oh, this is the wrong fruit, oh, this is the wrong vegetable, need to avoid this one, need to avoid that one. It's gonna take some time for you to establish some conversation with your body and what you're able to tolerate, and find new and exciting different ways to prepare what fits for you. And part of that preparation involves using spices. There's a lot of incredible benefits, health benefits in spices, herbs, minerals. We think of salt as kind of this like, oh, it's just salt. Sea salt is incredibly mineral dense, right? We're prioritizing sea salt because of its mineral profile. Table salt, iodized salt, not really great because it's strictly sodium. We're looking for sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, you name it. Sea salt is your best friend, whether it be Celtic sea salt, Redmond sea salt, Baja Gold. I think you're splitting hairs if you're really getting ticky-tack with brands, but salt and pepper, rosemary, thyme, coriander, cumin, turmeric, cayenne, a lot of those Middle Eastern and Eastern spices. Clove is another great one. Ginger are amazing, so good for your health. And a lot of them specifically have to do with blood glucose. So I use these frequently in my food. I mentioned before it's going to be a little bit different for everyone. One of the hardest things about a new diabetes diagnosis is the discernment. Like what is noise? What is something that I can actually do? What's feasible for my household, my family, myself? There's going to be a lot coming at you, right? You've got people telling you, oh, if you eat only blueberries for 3 months, your diabetes will be gone. You've got other people saying, well, I've only had ground beef for 4 years and I no longer have type 2. It's like, okay, both are seeing results. I don't know who to believe. I don't know what to do. And believe me, I have been there before. I've been fruit only for a few weeks at a time. I've gone vegan for a few months. I've been ketogenic for several bouts of a couple months at a time. They all had their unique benefits and drawbacks. None of them were the answer for me at the time, because I was just doing the diet to do the diet without actually taking any of the information that I was learning from it and enacting it. So give yourself time to see what fits, try things out, give yourself time. What I have landed on, okay, what I have done is fruit and vegetable dense, right? So the fruit and vegetable take up the greatest volume of the food that I eat. I am Not a picky eater. I don't have any digestive issues or um, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Allergies. So no no drawbacks for me. I like to mix it up. Brussels sprouts, bok choy, broccoli, cauliflower, um, green peppers, red peppers, jalapeno peppers, poblano, all the whole range. There's nothing I'm not willing to try at least once. Um, I like mixing colors, partially visually, just because I like color, but each color is going to deliver a different nutrient profile, right? The reds, the oranges, the yellows, the greens, okay? So be sure to mix in little bits and pieces of those into your meals, okay? And then animal proteins, eggs, chicken, beef, organ meats. You can do pork. You have to be very diligent about where your food is being sourced. Like I covered this in episode 37, but if you are buying meat from animals that ate bad food, it's the same as you eating that same bad food, right? So you need to be very conscious of what your animal proteins ate before they were processed. So um, those are the main meats. Organ meats from grass-fed animals are some of my favorite. I enjoy kidneys. I enjoy liver. Those are some of my favorites for the nutrients that they deliver. I have minimized my grain consumption. So things like rice, things like potatoes, things like any sort of whole wheat tend to mess with my blood sugars still. I believe there will be a point when they won't, but as of right now, I stick to squash. I will eat the occasional potato. If I bake them, I will sometimes bake them, cool them off, and then reheat them. That's a great way to um, minimize uh, the effect on your blood sugar. Ancient grains, things like kamut, bulgur, quinoa, those are all excellent options and great swaps for times when you eat rice or times, if you're going to eat pasta. I do not eat, head to episode 37 to stay up on what the things that I'm not eating. But um, yeah, avoiding any sort of enriched grain. Fat sources, so sticking to nut butters, almond butter, peanut butter, olive oil, grass-fed butter when available, avocados. I avoid avocado oil just because of the recent press that they've gotten in a lot of avocado oils not actually being oil from avocados. And then coconut oil. Coconut oil is a superfood in my eyes in terms of its um, fat content and healthful benefits. And then, like I mentioned before, spice and seasoning. I am not shy on seasoning my food. One of the biggest lessons that I had to learn, aside from any sort of what was on my plate, was being able to push the plate away when I was full, or when, increasing my sensitivity to listening to my body tell me that it was full. Because a lot of times, hand to mouth is so ingrained in our everyday that we forget to listen to what the mind is hearing from the gut. So, um, limiting portions, and this is just strictly me, but limiting portions and being able to say no more food. I don't want this. I'm only going to prepare so much, so I don't, I'm not at risk of taking on too much. So this usually takes the form of 2 moderately sized meals or 3 smaller ones. It depends on the day, my work schedule, what have you. But uh, remaining physically active will create a buffer for you in terms of, if you're watching strict caloric inputs or outputs. But from a healing standpoint, food quality and the nutrient profile is where my focus would be. If you know you are someone who needs to lose weight, that's something that you may need to track. Type 1, it's probably not an issue just based on the profile of someone with type 1. But if that is the case, again, you want the majority of your intake to be those fruit and veggies, because they're not super calorically dense and they are nutrient rich. So my whole argument on the development of diabetes has to do with our body's inability to manage inflammation. And so in our foods, as well as in any sort of supplemental or herbal use that we find after the fact, we're looking to mitigate inflammation, to rebalance our system so that it is able to target what needs to be targeted, and not to misidentify something that does not need to be targeted. That's kind of on the autoimmune front of diabetes. But things like glutathione, L-glutamine, vitamin E, herbs like astragalus, milk thistle, dandelion root, stinging nettle, they are wonderful for all of your major organs like your liver, your kidneys, your pancreas, your GI tract. Those are the organs that need your help after a diabetes diagnosis. Okay. Essential oils, jojoba, clove, eucalyptus, these are all, even lime, these are things that can help regulate your nervous system. I'm in the process now of learning much more about the vagus nerve and vagal tone. Essential oils have a role in kind of regulating that through both the physical oil being absorbed through your skin, as well as the scent and the sensory aspect of each of them. And then I'm a big fan of castor oil packs. Castor oil packs and their ability to drive the elimination of toxins, specifically over the liver, because that's kind of the ground zero of toxin accumulation in the body. But also in circulating lymph as well, which is something a lot of people with diabetes and compromised immune systems tend to lack, is lymphatic drainage. So that's something castor oils can really, really help. And just to reiterate, right? So many decisions floating out in the air. What is the thing that I should do? Pick one and do it. Pick one thing, one supplement, one oil. Pick one food to incorporate into your diet, one to take away. The only wrong decision is not making one. And I see a lot of people spend a lot of time in limbo trying to collect more information. If they only knew just a little bit more about this, then they could take action. Take action now. Take action now. Do not wait. There are things that you know that are not helping you. Pull those out, strategically or all at once, depending on your personality and what you're up for, and start to introduce the good. Start now. The sooner the better. The closer to diagnosis, the better, right? I equate that to, like, if you're driving your car without your hands on the wheel and the car starts to, you see the car starting to veer off, the sooner you can start to take out the bad and introduce the good, the sooner you can get your hands on the wheel to change. If you don't do anything and you see the car veering off and you don't put your hands on the wheel, and you're like, man, I just need to learn just a little bit more, and then you're off the road, and it's going to be a lot harder to get yourself out of that ditch. So act now. Act now. You have a whole community of people ready and willing to help through their own experiences. Act now. That's the best way I can say.